In this week's parsha, we have a unique pasuk that has almost no parallel in the whole Chumash. We're very used to parshas being introduced with Vaydaber Hashem al Shalimor, something along those lines. Here we have, in the beginning of Revi'i, Vayitzav Moshe v'ziknei Yisrael sa'am lemor. Shamor es kol ha-mitzvah shanuchi mitzaveh eschem hayom. So here we have, first of all, there's no introduction of Hashem introducing a mitzvah. And second of all, we have Moshe together with the Ziknei Yisrael. Vayitzav Moshe v'ziknei Yisrael. Moshe together with the leaders of Israel commanded the nation. So this struck the Mefarshim, and there are different explanations given. A common explanation, this is given by the Ibn Ezra, by the Sforno, by the Nitziv in Ha'emek Davar. They say that this parsha that's in the fourth Aliyah will be telling us about the grand Maimed at Har Grizim and Har Eval, where after Bnei Yisrael came into Eretz Yisrael, so they're going to have half the nation standing on one side, half the nation on the other side. And since Moshe Rabbeinu was not going to be there, but the Zakanim would be there, so Moshe Rabbeinu brought the Zakanim on board since they would participate in the brachos and klalos at Har Grizim and Har Eval. That is the opinion of a bunch of Mefarshim. And of course, then we understand why the Zakanim are here. What's a little bit difficult is that the pasuk continues by Tavo Moshe v'ziknei Yisrael sa'am lemor shamor es kol ha-mitzvah asher anochi mitzaveh eschem hayom. Guard the entire mitzvah, right? So these Mefarshim will have to say that as kol ha-mitzvah is referring to the entire mitzvah of having half the nation here and half the nation there, and Har Grizim and Har Eval having the brachos and klalos. The Ramban disagrees. The Ramban says no. From kol ha-mitzvah obviously refers to the entire Torah, all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So this is now, the Ramban says, now that Moshe Rabbeinu has completed teaching Klal Yisrael all of the mitzvahs. Okay, there's actually a few more if you look in Parshas Tetzavim, but we're not going to discuss that for now. But we've basically come to the completion of all of the mitzvahs that Moshe Rabbeinu wants to teach Klal Yisrael. So now he's summing it all up. He's saying, now, kol ha-mitzvah, I've given you everything. Now I'm going to give you a charge to guard those mitzvahs, to keep them, to perpetuate them. But he doesn't do that alone. He brings the Ziknei Yisrael up on the stage. Not because of some narrow reason that they're going to be particularly involved in some Maimed. No. Moshe Rabbeinu recognizes, says the Ramban, that it's time for him to share the leadership with others. Moshe Rabbeinu is the absolute unquestioned leader of Klal Yisrael. He's a melech. He's the head of he's a nasi. He's the head of Sanhedrin. He's the fountain of Torah Sheba'al Peh. But he recognizes that a nation needs leaders. A nation doesn't survive with one leader. It needs leaders, plural. Kol am holech ba'atzas zikainav. He knows that the Zakanim are the ones who are really going to have to push the Masorah forward, especially that he's going to be dying soon. He recognizes that the time has come to put the Zakanim on a stage. And what's so fascinating here is that it doesn't seem in the Psukim, the Ramban doesn't make mention of it, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu to bring the Zakanim on board. It seems like Moshe Rabbeinu understood himself. Moshe Rabbeinu understood himself. He's going to be passing away soon, and he needs to entrust Klal Yisrael with the Zakanim. It's true that later in Parshas Nitzavim, he's going to hand over the keys of leadership to Yoshua. But beyond a single leader, he recognizes that Shmiras HaMitzvos as a whole doesn't depend on one person. There isn't one person who could be responsible for the Shmiras HaMitzvos of Klal Yisrael. As long as Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, indeed, he was one person who taught us everything, who led us, that's true. But ultimately, a nation really needs leadership, broad leadership at every level. And for that reason, he brings the Ziknei Yisrael up on board. And together, Moshe Rabbeinu, together with the Ziknei Yisrael, share the stage for the first time, it seems. For the first time in Chumash. They share the stage, and they say, now it's time, Shamor es kol ha-mitzvah. I think we see something amazing from Moshe Rabbeinu. We see the anav of Moshe Rabbeinu. We see that Moshe Rabbeinu, and we appreciate how he understood his role, and ultimately the role of Ziknei Yisrael throughout the Doros. That throughout the Doros, Klal Yisrael has always needed And Baruch Hashem, with Siyata D'Shmaya has always had leadership that has guided us through difficult times, through challenging times, through confusing times. And all goes back to Moshe Rabbeinu appreciating that as he's about to pass away, it's time to bring the Ziknei Yisrael up on board. And the Shmir of Kol HaMitzvah, now that we know what they are, we have the Targum Mitzvahs, we know what they are, now going forward, it's our responsibility. Two responsibilities. Our responsibility, one, to foster leadership, to create leaders, to do our role wherever we are, to create leaders and enable leaders to lead. And number two, to be responsive to our leaders, to appreciate what leaders give us, and to follow their sage advice in Shmiras Kol HaMitzvah. Have a wonderful Shabbos.